The Orions are one of the closest types of intelligences to me. There is a lot of information out there on what we could say the negative Orions. From my knowledge, it's really the beings from the Draco constellation, Draco Greys, reptilian Greys, Draco reptilians, and also different factions and types of Greys, as well as other beings that are part of what we could say that network, that have outposts there. And I haven't got much experience with that, so I can't go by that. I can only go by my experience that I have with some of what I'll describe now and touch on. One of the beings is Penkei, and Penkei is what I'll describe as a light warrior and a master. He's a delegate for the Orion Council and he's part of a race called the Nimika. The way I could describe this is in a physical form, when manifested into a physical form, there are traits of Native American, Asian and Caucasian mix, sort of like a blend. And this being is at the level of consciousness to where it can operate in its Merkaba. He is a delegate working with many different, we could say, civilizations within the constellation of Orion, which is vast. Himself and other beings that I've interfaced with, they're from a star behind Alnitak in Orion's belt. But again, it is so vast in Orion. The outpost from the negative Orions, that was acquired during what I'll describe as the Orion Wars, which is a repeat of the Lyran Wars and a repeat of wars going further out in the galaxy and into other galaxies as well. And it's not just, we could say, a thing that's happened in this frequency, but it's a multi-dimensional thing as well. And so what it is that these beings, through working for what I'll describe as the lower light, the fallen Elohim, the negative ones we could say, is that they wanted to overtake the Horsehead Nebula. Now, through doing that, they could disperse this distorted frequency AI throughout other places, because what you have in certain places like the Horsehead Nebula and stars is that you've got portals. And so it's a way that they can put AI through that and disperse it and have further reach as well. Now, nobody won the Orion Wars in my opinion, or the Lyran War. It's basically lives lost on both sides and devastation. What we've got is this still being, we could say, rectified. Not everything is good out there, not everything's bad, just like Source itself and us. There's good and bad, and a balance needs to be had. One of the most funniest beings I've ever come across, I just call him the wise one, and the interactions with him now have gone for over a decade. He resides in Orion, assisting the Orions, different factions and races in Orion. But the information I've got is originally he's from near the galaxy designated GNZ11. The way I understand this is him and its race, and also a mantid type race, are the oldest in 3D existence, to where they don't die per se or reincarnate, even though that's illusionary and I spoke about that earlier. But basically their existence is to master the 3D reality from start to end. It looks like E.T. from the movie, the Steven Spielberg movie E.T., but it's a darker brown and it's got black eyes. And sometimes it's in a purple robe, sometimes a brown robe, sometimes it's got a scepter, and at times it's working with what I call the small browns, which are sort of like, they look like greys, but not really. Their eyes are more horizontal than going up, almond shaped. They're chubbier, they're small. And then there's taller ones that I call the tall browns, that look like Roger from the TV show, the best way I can describe it, American Dad, the alien. That, if you can imagine that brown with black eyes, that's what the tall ones look like, and they're about 5 foot. Many other types of intelligences there that even look like us, but their eyes are slightly bigger, and they're actually rainbow beings. They projected a physical form as a humanoid being a few times, and then I was showing their true nature when they're on a planet that's like a rainforest. Tulips were like that big, all these things, flowers that look like tulips. Everything looked like it was on steroids. The sky, purplish colour, that wouldn't even be a percent. I wouldn't even be touching percent of what is in Orion with how vast it is, and then you overlap into the other frequencies as well. They're very much assisting the ones that I'm working with monitoring and regulating things, and liberation process, assisting other civilizations to be in their own power when they get introduced to things on a galactic level. But there's a trans-dimensional nature with this too, specifically with the small brown Orions, to where their job predominantly is, see, sometimes in our experiences, as an example, they can land a craft on us in apparition form and then vibrate our consciousness on board. Sometimes they'll take the physical body and then they'll separate the physical body from the consciousness, and then they'll resonate the two back together. Now, sometimes this is done because you have to get out of a physical state to experience, and whether it's meet up with your soul family and teams or star family, whatever terms you want to put on this, you have to go in a higher state of consciousness. And so what they do is they assist and monitor and basically take one through the process of pulling you out of your physical body. And sometimes you could go into an avatar, sometimes you'll stay in a non-corporeal state, what have you. It's quite laid, there's a lot to it. I'm not even touching the surface with this.